Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 73. We've cooked up a salad of radioactivity and intrigue for you this time around. What happened to Tariq after the massive explosion that ended the last issue of Geiger? It's time to find out with another release day deep dive. I'm Nick, and as usual, I'm joined by my better half, Snoggle. My dear, we just got back from a family soccer game. It's time to get back to Ghost Machine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm in a competitive spirit.
You're in a competitive spirit. Is that because you just witnessed some youth sports?
It is. And we also got to witness our son score 2 goals.
Big things. He's doing big things. Thankfully, he's not in the world of post-apocalyptia, and they do still have youth sports to participate in.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Indeed. Well, before we get started with our deep dive about Geiger number 17 that came out today, we want to give a shout out to someone new who has collaborated with us on Instagram again. As you all know, we really love it when anyone invites us to do that with them to help spread the good Ghost Machine fan word. And this one's going out to Kim's Collectibles. Now, I'll spell that for you. It's KYMSKOLLECTABLES. So that's KYMS is how it starts. You'll be able to find them. If you go ahead and look at our Instagram, recently they posted a Sisterhood 2 deal on there. And I've seen this account post a lot of cool comics, Ghost Machine and otherwise, and they always have this neat background in the behind the comics that they put up, and it's really well positioned and it's cool. So make sure to check out Kim's Collectibles on Instagram, and thank you so much for the collaboration.
Very cool.
Before we talk about the issue that we've got on deck for today, we do have a teensy bit of news, and Snoggle's here for that, so let me skedaddle.
I'm in the newsroom. Today is Wednesday, August 27th, which is the release date for Geiger 17 and Hornsby and Halo number 9. We also have Geiger 18, Hyde Street 9, including the Creature Crisp 1 out of 20 Sean Von Gorman variant, Hornsby and Halo number 10, and the Hyde Street Volume 1 trade paperback, all on final order cutoff, September 1st. Woo! There's a lot going on, Nick.
Yeah, and so today's the 27th of August. And if you're listening to this before September 1st, that means you still have time to go pre-order all of those books, including that 1 for 20 Creature Crisp, which is the t-shirt that I'm getting from Threadless too. Some serious, exciting stuff going on. I also wanted to point out that we do know that Hornsby and Halo number 9 is coming out today. And while we absolutely love doing the release day deep dives, because the next issue of the Rockefellers is coming out a week from today, we're going to do Hornsby and Halo 9 and the Rockefellers next week for a Family Odyssey special. But this week it's just Geiger.
Geiger, the one and only.
So make sure to do those pre-orders. It's kind of a big deal. You're not getting a Creature Crisp 1 for 20 without a pre-order. I can guarantee you're not walking into an LCS and seeing that on the shelf and just swooping it up. It's not how it works. We do have one more thing we wanted to remind all of you wonderful Ghost Machine fans about tonight, and that is, don't forget to review your favorite Ghost Machine comics on Goodreads or any other place where you can find a place to do it. And the number one reason is that's the best way to let the friends that you don't know you have yet know about Ghost Machine so they can become new friends of yours. So make sure to check that out. It also does help with rankings and things of that nature. And we do really live in a renaissance of independent comic book stuff. And so that means we must do our duty to help the Ghost Machine stick out amongst all this fantastic content.
Yes, we must.
So speaking of fantastic content, before we get to the meat of the radioactive matter, we need to talk about the covers that are going to be available to you today when you go to your local comic book shop and pick out which issue of Geiger 17 is for you.
And there are some beautiful covers.
Tariq in the moonlight next to a playground.
I like the addition of like I don't even know what those are called, but the zebra. You get on it. It's like a rocking horse, but it's a zebra rocking horse.
I thought that was particularly interesting. So we're talking Ghost Machine fans about the A cover, which is by our usual suspects, Gary Frank and Brad Anderson. And this was teased. It's kind of like, it kind of has a morose or somber tone to it. It definitely gives us the sense that Tariq is becoming more isolated because it's just him. There's no Barney, there's no Nate, and there's no Zigzag. But I thought it was very interesting what Snoggle's talking about is that it's like it's got a big metal spring and you could swing, like you could sit on it and go back and forth as a kid on the playground and ride it. And the one in this one is a zebra, and that seems rather apt considering what happens to Zigzag in this issue. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice what he's got in his right hand?
Junkyard Joe.
Yeah, I wonder if he bought that from Mezco.
He must have.
And then we've got a newcomer to Ghost Machine covers. Freddie E. Williams II is who did this second one, the B cover. What do you think of that one, Snoggle?
I really like this. It looks kind of like the best way I can describe it is like colored pencils.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Not watercolor, colored pencils, which I like.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. I think a lot of that has to do with Andrew Dahlhaus, who is the colorist on this. I know him well from Valiant. He did a lot of work for BEI, the years that I'm very fond of from Valiant Comics. And it does look as though Tariq is looking down in like a puddle or like a liquid of some kind that's reflecting. And I thought that was pretty neat, the way that they positioned that. It looks hard to draw this.
Yeah, I would agree.
What'd you think about that C cover? That's kind of a mind blower.
Yeah, I like at first when it was, I'm looking at it. I'm like, am I looking at this the wrong way?
Yes, it is meant to be in landscape mode, right?
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it's cool.
Well, it's a character profile or design type cover, and we've seen some others of those. We've seen a Junkyard Joe, and we've seen a Simon Pure. So I have a feeling that's going to be an ongoing trend. The only thing about this is someone who really likes to slab their comics is I don't think that there are slabs that exist where you can, this is not very common. Usually when something's in portrait mode, you still have the image logo or the publisher logo in the standard spot. And this is actually if you were to turn it to on its side, like it's meant to be viewed, the image logo is in the bottom left. So that's interesting.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It makes you feel like you're going to read this comic book like a calendar.
Maybe you will.
Maybe.
Day by day.
All right. Well, hey, we have made it through the 3 covers that are available to you today. So if you're one of the few folks who did not make sure to get this comic on your pull list, that is hopefully what you'll be able to find when you stop by your LCS to see what is on the shelf on release day, which makes this your official spoiler pause for Geiger number 17. Snoggle, can you kick us off with a creator roll call?
Our creators are Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. Pages 1 through 18, our penciler is Eduardo Pansica. The colorist for pages 1 through 18 is Robert Nugent.
Mm-hmm.
And our inker for pages 1 through 18 is Norm Rapmund. And then our artist, pages 19 through 22, is Gary Frank, with our colorist, Brad Anderson. And Rob Lee, he did the letters for everything.
Rob Lee. He's there, holding everybody up, the world on his shoulders. That Rob Lee.
Yeah.
So Eduardo Pansica is a different artist than we had last time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that was Eamon Winkle last time, who was another guest artist. And so we've got Eduardo here. That's cool. I'm not super familiar with him. Robert Nugent and Norm Rapmund also were on the previous issue. And then a few other times when Gary has taken a break or whatever, he's still done a handful of pages in like an epilogue like he did in this one. So that jives.
I like how they started off the first, we get 2 splash pages, and the first one is just, I guess, ashes of what was Tariq. And then the second one gives you the whole scene, which I think looks pretty cool.
I really like the way this artist's pencils work with this color work. It's really cool. It's very different vibe, very different style of coloring. It's that like high contrast with the character's style where the landscape is really different. Like reminds me of a lot of early aught Superman stuff, or it's just neat to me where the background is different, but not in a bad way. And there's a lot of cool shadow and light here that we see from this new team. And it's Geiger in a crater, and we don't know yet if he is gone or dead or whatever. But like, as far as it seems like maybe he just blew up, and that's what's left of him at this point, at these couple of pages.
That's sweet.
At this point, they don't know what happened. There's tons of radioactive discharge, and the doctor gets down there. He's basically like monologuing a little bit about things to kind of catch us up in a way, because he says after the big explosion in Lewiston, the one that Ash Ardern orchestrated, his cells were drowning in radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way that's described. He's like basically implying it was too much for him, but then we kind of get this like, maybe, he's probably not really gone because we saw him on the cover. So he's got to be somewhere, right? But Barney is the one that seems like he starts to smell him.
And then they realize that, like, the explosion was so crazy, he literally went into the air somewhere else.
And I like that. That's almost becoming... It's been a Jeff Johns thing for a long time, but it's almost becoming a Ghost Machine staple of like, the way the cliffhanger occurs is nebulous enough to where you can take me in a different direction in the next issue and it not be jarring. It doesn't feel as though I was deceived into thinking he was dead and it's like a gotcha. It feels like a good way to show, just like if I was watching a movie, like, and it would be a good way to convey like the tension that my hero may have perished or may have gone to some other state of being or something. So I like that.
I agree. I do like that we turn the next page and all we see is like, smoke coming up from the trees with a little bit of a green glow. And it says, "Who is he?" Now, this is important to me because as we get later into the book, he doesn't have his abilities, but he's laying there, with some green glow, some green goos. So I wonder if he just has to simply like recharge for a bit.
Yeah, because in the first panel, we see these two riders come up that look like they're wearing some sort of armor. We don't see too much yet. And that gets interesting in a second. But like the crater that he's in this forest, which is apparently where he landed, at first he looks all like radioactivity. And then the close up is like, even his pants and his armor and his cape are intact.
And then we do get a close-up of the riders. And I will say, even if they end up being some sort of bad guy, at least they're protecting their animals.
Yeah, you mean because they have the masks on because of the radioactivity?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
which might not be out of the kindness of their hearts, might be because they don't want to lose their resource, but still.
And they're wearing uniforms that say the word police on them, and their horses have actual masks on, which I imagine is something that the horses really had to take some time to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take it. But they do notice that he has some sort of blistering from radiation poisoning, and that's definitely new.
Yes. And probably saves his hide a little bit because they don't recognize him as this green man that everybody is after. Instead, they're like, he must be one of Blackbeard's men. What luck.
Yeah, one of Goldbeard's men. And that's what's cool. It harkens back to those of us who have been reading this comic for years, because immediately we're like, oh, that's interesting. And it also is the first time that we see that they mention, hey, like essentially they found a random dude in the woods who's got radioactive poisoning. And so their conclusion is he might be the key to finding Goldbeard's treasure. That as this goes on, we find out like that's basically all they're trying to do. So everything in their world is like, oh, maybe this will be the key. Random radioactive dude in the woods with he'll be the one to help us find the treasure. That's just more so me pointing out how fixated they are on said treasure.
Oh yeah. I do love, again, the next page. I do love a panel of just like darkness with words.
Yeah. Wake up! It emphasizes you're asleep and it makes you feel like you're Tariq getting splashed in the face with water. That's a great splosh from Rob Lee.
Oh, it's an amazing.
And
I love it.
So he wakes up and he wonders where he's at. And this is an awesome comic book thing. He says, "Where am I?" And then we get this really great splash page of a very detailed prison. And I really like the color. I like
it. I like that we get another double page splash page.
We do.
I like the light.
The light, and it's to illustrate to him and us, he's in something called Cold Water Prison, which from the outside looking in looks very well maintained, lit, and functional. Like there are vehicles, everything. And this is the middle of the night. So I feel, to me, that's the way that Jeff and Gary and Eduardo, are saying, instead of a big long paragraph. Like I imagine if I was reading a comic in the 90s from one of the big two, it would be like, Coldwater Prison was a, and it'd be this like really long, elaborate thing telling you why it was so this, and like instead of just saying like, oh, this is
where you're at.
Yeah, this is where you're at, and this is what it is, and it's very clear that he's in a typical interrogation room. I don't see the blisters anymore, but he doesn't have his rods either.
No. And again, they are very much assuming that he already knows where he's at.
Mm-hmm. More of the Goldbeard stuff.
I do like this warden, though, the way he looks.
The way he's drawn.
Yeah.
Yes, comic book fans out there. This is where the way that the warden's drawn, it reminds me a bit of Matt Wagner style art. But yeah, he has a very
he's got a Mike Tyson face tat.
He does have a Mike Tyson. And he is trying to interrogate Tariq Geiger, who he doesn't have any idea is the glowing man. And he's trying to find out which of his guards is a mole working for Goldbeard. So that's an entertaining way for us to find out that whoever this warden guy is, he's in opposition of Goldbeard and is looking for his treasure.
And I do love that. Obviously, Tariq hasn't 100% realized that he doesn't have powers, because he says, so uncuff me and show me the way out or you won't live to see the next sunrise. And then we just get a simple panel of someone picking up a bucket. And then the next panel is the bucket being thrown pretty aggressively into Tariq's head.
Well, that's the thing. You throw a metal bucket or whatever, you usually are thinking like a clang or a ding. Rob made this a KRAKK to emphasize what it's doing to like his face.
Oh yeah, it knocked him out so good that he's now having dreams of his family.
Oh man.
Sad.
Yeah, they got you on this one.
They did.
Because it's a combo, right? Because when you see his son Marcus with the black eye, that's one thing. Also, right off the bat, he's there with the work belt on and stuff because he's building the entryway to the shelter. So it's still there. And that's like a very, very clear way of pointing out the time period and who everybody is. And you know what I mean? Because he's got the cement mixer in the back. He's building his bunker.
Yeah.
And they have a great exchange because the short version is he gets into a fight at school. He wants to handle it on his own. His dad wants to tell mom, and he doesn't want mom to do that because it's just going to make things worse at school.
Yeah.
And that's so realistic, and it's a bummer, that it is the case. I'm not advocating for like fighting back or punching people or anything, nor would I teach our son to do that. But it is challenging when you're a parent and you really understand social things. Like that's not what it was like for me. My parents would have been like, you shouldn't care what other people think. They're jerks,
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, Tariq is, he is doing that at first, right? Like he's like, you just don't want friends like that. Violence isn't how you fix anything. It's like, well, yeah, Dad, but you don't sit with these people in a room 8 hours a day, like I do. What did you think of the parent-child exchange here?
I thought it was very cute. I mean, one, he has a Junkyard Joe t-shirt on, which I think we all recognized. I mean, I do think it's very fitting that it says violence is not how we fix things, because that's where he goes with it at first. But I mean, you and I have navigated this a little bit with our son, and it's tough, You want to tell them not to be violent, but you also want to give them the tools to not get beat up. The fact that it ends with, I love you, Dad. I love you too, buddy. It's hard because we know that the son is dead.
And I might be getting a tad too deep here, but the reason that Tariq switches gears with Marcus and the way he's communicating with him is because Marcus says, whatever, tell mom, I'll figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
And so Tariq pivots because he wants to repair that rift.
Yeah.
And he pivots into telling him where to hit somebody, And so that reminds me of his whole like violent duality thing now that we talk so much about. And then he's like literally in a prison. Well, actually, he really is in a prison with a dude that's been a prisoner here since before the war. He wakes up to that, right? That's what the guy says. He's been there that long, right?
Mm-hmm. Imagine having this lovely, heartfelt dream, a memory, mind you, about you and your son, and you wake up and you see that creepy face.
In a prison cell, yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
Like, oh, gosh, the juxtaposition there, I think, is very smart storytelling. Everything was lovely, and then you see this guy who's like, you were talking in your sleep, mister. Ugh.
Yeah, that's a bad breath grin right there.
Oh, 100%. Well, I'm assuming most of the people have bad breath.
Yeah, that's true. It probably smells weird if you don't at this point.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic. That was a really good point of the way that the juxtaposition jars you. And it's like, oh man, why did he have to wake up from that? That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to ask, I do think, even though obviously he turns out to be a sinister person, what a interesting question to pose, because I think this is the struggle that Tariq has, is you a man who lives by love or violence? And I think he's both, and he struggles because truly, like, his inner being, he is driven by love. But I think it makes him act out in violence sometimes. So sad.
So sad. But then in the prison too, he notices kind of like I didn't notice earlier on my first read that he was missing the rods, but he notices he's missing the rods in the cell, but he's not glowing. I don't know. When you really think about it, like, it probably would be good if he had his powers, but then also maybe not. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is a good position for him to be in to regroup or whatever.
He says, stand as far away from me as you can. So here he is just randomly. Obviously, this dude's in prison. He's the bad guy. But he hasn't crossed Tariq in a way. You know, Tariq's got a code. And then he's like, my rods. Oh, no.
And that's
why
where
aren't I glowing? Something he wanted to make go away for so long. And now he's like, oh, no. My superpowers. They're gone.
That's a good point. You would think he might be a little, I mean, I don't know. If it weren't for this dude,
yeah,
in the prison cell, I have a feeling he might be happier. But at the same time, no, you're right. Like, it's almost like with how much he's been devoted to that idea, you'd think he would at least take a moment and like, wait, I have what I wanted. Now I can whatever, die, or I don't know. But who knows? I just think it's cool. It's cool because it's a way for us to learn. This dude's been in the prison this long. The warden, so Warden Wren, took over the prison. He was also a prisoner, but at that time, Goldbeard was a prisoner too. And I guess all this stuff went down around the time of the war, and that's how prisoners were able to take this over. So everybody involved here at one point was a prisoner, right?
Yes. And it apparently, like, Goldbeard, basically it revolted against Wren, who took over, you know. I don't think it's important for us at this point to have all the backstory. But he left a mysterious treasure buried under this prison. Now, I will say I am very intrigued what the mysterious treasure is, because he's trying to come back and get it.
Yeah, and they sound like they definitively feel that it's under the prison. Prison's a big place, and who knows, you know, the treasure could be a microchip, the treasure could be a chest, the treasure could be a nuclear warhead. We have no idea what it is or the size of it. So, you know, it could be a ruse that he made up so that he would get them to focus on that and not mess with him in Vegas.
Yeah.
Who knows? Meaning Goldbeard. But I just really like more of the original. I like learning more about the original characters, because up until this point, Goldbeard was this dude that was cool, but he was basically like, I'm going to do my own thing whenever I come along with y'all, but I do support attacking this guy for now, type of guy. But he didn't seem as bad.
Yeah, I would agree.
Alignment as the others.
And maybe they'll team up, because I love me some pirates. Arr. But speaking of buried treasure, somehow, not even a shank, this dude has a knife buried underneath his pillow.
Yeah,
that's not a prison shank. That's like a full knife.
Oh yeah, it's like a kitchen, like a steak knife. Or something. Yeah, but he's thinking. See, this is what's weird to me. So he's saying, I'm going to get out of here because I'm going to find out where the treasure is, or you'll die, or cut your throat. And he's already kind of doing it the little teeny bit.
Yeah.
And so that implies that even though the person that took over the prison was a prisoner, that for whatever reason, like, they're still like, why would they keep those prisoners like in there? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the
I'm gonna guess because come on, there are people in prison for tax evasion, and then there are people in prison for like diddling kids. You know, there's different levels of prison and why you're there. So maybe even if the warden isn't a great guy, he probably has a code of some sort as well, don't you think?
I think that now that we're talking about this, maybe, but you would
but
think
this guy's
if it was a child
probably
molester, they would just kill him or let him die.
but this guy's probably not actually a prisoner.
Well, that's what I was going to say. In the beginning, he says, "Oh, I've been in Coldwater so long, I almost forgot why they put me in here." And you can hear his creepiness, the way that his grammar. So I feel like now that we're talking about this, that maybe one day we'll find out why he's in there. Because we just left off. That's the last page. Wow, that's the whole issue. That's crazy. We just left off. They just do a really good job of decompressed storytelling by putting a lot into a short span of time. I really enjoyed this issue. And yeah, I want to know why that guy was in there.
Yeah.
Because, like, why would they maintain prisons at all? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if he is really a prisoner, he did something bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he's in there because he works for the warden or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this epic epilogue. Junkyard Joe.
Rebooting.
And it's Junkyard Joe's. We don't get those circular eye things this time, but we do get like a zeros and ones overlay along with
which I love.
The thing you were just talking about too. And then you've got Nate and Barney and Zigzag talking, essentially, because the doctor's not there. He's talking to the animals. And then he calls Molotov over because he finds the rods.
Yeah, and as he's finding them, everything here is very interesting to me. And obviously, we've got more to be uncovered, but it was Joe, he's awake, and they turn, and then Joe obviously turned back off.
But then we see his HUD thing when he wakes back up, because there's 2 more dark panels, and then he wakes back up, quote unquote, and we see like his heads up display thing on his eyes. It's not just the zeros and ones, it's like he's rebooted more. Then they're like at a fire and they're talking about how they're tracking Tariq and that he was there. And so I guess it does happen in this moment. Yeah, it wouldn't have been in the beginning. It just must happen after a little bit, because then Joe sees them discover something has happened to Zigzag.
Yeah, that is very interesting to me. That is where it ends.
Well, with Zigzag in massive, awesome profile as now a full-grown, three-eyed
with
zebra.
Smoke coming off of him. You find that kind of interesting?
Because the doctor is saying it must have been the radiation Tariq released, but I have no way of knowing. And that was still, I would think, a few days ago, right, when we saw that first big splash panel we were talking about. And Nate goes, well, whatever caused it, I think it's fair to say the almighty Zigzag had quite the growth spurt. And if you recall, when we had Jeff Johns on this very show, he told us that was going to happen.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Be really cool. And I think that means he's going to have to get some armor and a saddle. 3 words for you: cybernetic Zigzag armor. But to your point about an actual justice system, the preview for the next issue has Tariq hooked up to an electric chair, and there's a dude in the back. There's like a police officer looking person like throwing the switch for it, and then there's a lawyer or something type of person on the other side. And
sentenced to die, destined for vengeance. And I will say, I'm going to go out on a limb here. If he actually ends up in an electric chair, I think somehow that electric chair will snap back to radioactivity.
Maybe.
Hopefully. I think, or maybe we will actually see him die. I doubt it.
Whatever it is, it probably is going to explain why they have like still prisoners in this prison.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something like that's their theme. Like we've got the people in Vegas that have their themes. There's this dude out here and he just keeps this going. For whatever reason. Really liked the gold beard bio.
Yeah, and I think it kind of affirms what you and I were talking about, that while he's like, quote, bad, is he really?
No,
Like,
he's a good guy.
I don't know that he's like a villain.
No, he's not. He's a victim of circumstance. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a veteran. He was a decorated lieutenant in the U.S. Navy. Disillusioned by a mission gone wrong, a humanitarian rescue turned covert weapons op. He resigned. So he was supposed to do something, and it turned into something he didn't like, and so he bounced, and then eventually got framed for something, and that's how he ended up in the prison.
Yeah.
You know,
and the only reason he really went after Geiger was to truly protect his own people.
Yeah, I really love his abilities. And even when they were going after Geiger, I would argue that he was always a little bit hesitant, like, I'll go and see what happens kind of guy. He wasn't as gung-ho as everybody else. But I love the abilities. Goldbeard's greatest weapon isn't a gun or blade, it's people. He reads them, inspires them. A master tactician and magnetic leader, he turns chaos into opportunity and obstacles into leverage.
Yeah, super cool.
Like, that makes him one of my favorite characters in this era of the Unnamed, man.
But I'm saying, I think it'd be really dope if he teamed up. Because we have a knight, we have a doctor, we have Tariq, and now all we need is a pirate.
Good point. And they have a new ad in the back of this one for the trade paperbacks that's separated based on universe. I really thought that was good. It's cool how the Unnamed has 3 characters from that world. Like, each of them has multiple characters from those worlds. So, excited about the next issue of Geiger. Who knows what's going down? Next week, we're talking about Hornsby and Halo. And the next issue of the Rockefellers, it's going to be a Family Odyssey special. But before we call it a day, we do have a listener mail.
Fantastic mail.
Oh, that's right. Do you want to read it?
Of course, I would like to read our fantastic mail from Moldy Bread. Hi, Nick and Becky. I've been a listener of the show since the very beginning. I have never thought to write in until now. Hyde Street confuses me. If the scorekeeper is all-powerful, then why can the residents make their own decisions? Why can Pranky keep doing what he is doing, and why can Oscar/matinee monster get away with never killing anyone? And how can he save them?
I think that last part is like asking how the matinee monster saves people. Remember, because he like saved that Santa guy.
You answer first, Nick. Nick, what do you think?
Well, thanks very much, Moldy Bread, for emailing in. Now, I know where you're saying there, because we've seen multiple conversations between residents and the scorekeeper, right? Like, we've seen Pranky and him argue, and him basically be like, stop messing with the others. But we don't see the scorekeeper able to like literally control Pranky by any means. As we know, he's like gone well over goal, and he's just, swinging for the fences as he continues on. And the scorekeeper's only issue wasn't that he wanted to keep doing it and wouldn't leave. His issue was that he was doing it to other people's targets, essentially. And that was disrupting the balance of whatever. That's a bit of conjecture on my part. But he was frustrated with him. But then again, when the scorekeeper was really frustrated with Oscar Oddman, the matinee monster, he took out his eyes and his tongue so that he couldn't talk about that stuff anymore. Or he ripped out his tongue and then like covered his eyes with the hood and the nails and everything, all the horrible stuff. And so he definitely can do stuff to you, but it makes me really wonder what his purpose is, because it's like, okay, well, he obviously has a primary purpose of pulling in a very evil or corrupt person every decade with the goal to then damn 10,000 souls by using that person to do so. And if we understand how it works, there are people like Sophie to get damned, even though they're not bad. So whatever it is, it's this being who can collect or recruit a resource every decade to do a task, is the way that I see it, right? And so it does appear that he needs those beings to do those tasks, and that the damning souls or whatever you want to call them in those quantities is basically his goal, right? And so when you think about that, like, you could literally be like, okay, well, if he brings one on every 10 years, how long has he been doing this? How long has humanity had a Hyde Street? Was there a Hyde Street in Egypt? Was there a Hyde Street in Rome? But really though, because then you can say, like, it's a decade, and if every single one hits their goal of 10,000, that's still a limited number of damned souls. It's not like your traditional, like, hellscape type of thing or whatever, with a constant stream of people that are bad. It's actually a mechanism feeding something. So I think that the answer to your question that I haven't given, I haven't given you a good answer at all.
I was like, you've answered nothing.
Well, I think the answer is that we don't know his true purpose, but it does appear that he's not an omniscient being. He can't make them do things.
Yes. What I will say is we simply don't know enough, which to me bodes well for the longevity of the series, right? If we already knew everything about the Scorekeeper and why he was powerful and where he came from, it would make me think we're only getting 20 issues of this, right? But we're 10 in, and we basically have very minimal information. We basically have no information about the Scorekeeper. So what I will say is I think that that's good.
Yes. And so I think that's the answer, right? Like, we don't really know, but we do know that he can't make them do it. And we do know that we want it to take plenty of time for us to find out, because we're going to read these comics.
Yeah. Maybe he's not powerful.
Maybe he's like some sort of trickster or something. You know what I mean? That just found an avenue to do this, to collect souls, and he's doing the whatever.
Maybe he's just a dude in the control room, And
that's the other thing. Eventually, it's gonna probably lead to, because X-Ray has positive motivations. He wants to get back to his daughter. Cranky seems to have good guy motivations in that he wants to keep damning bad people. And so presumably Pranky would not have. Here's a great mind bender for you. Would Pranky have damned Sophie? I think the answer is no. Pranky would not have damned Sophie, whereas Sister Hood did damn Sophie. But
there's still more to be discovered about Sophie.
Yes.
I think she's at the initial of her damning, and her decisions will lean one way or another.
Yeah, but I still think Pranky would leave her be. So, but that's the thing. Pranky is a charismatic character we like. X-Ray is a charismatic character we like. In the end, they both seem to have, like, good guy goals. So, are we one day going to see? Do they get out of Hyde Street and then they fight Hyde Street? Like, there's a lot of cool things that can happen. So, the answer to your question is keep reading the comics forever, and you'll find out. But thanks for writing in. And if you want to do that, email us at ghostmachinefans@gmail.com. You can also check out all of our other content at www.ghostmachinefans.com. Make sure to check out the Reddit and the Instagram profiles. There's a link to the Discord, too, if you want to come hang out and chat in there. Also, don't forget to stop by the Ghost Machine Comic Fans Facebook group.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast.
Radioactive Podcast.